Jeff Duncan, thank you for being here.
I know you're filming this, but is it going to make anyone upset or whatever, or triggered if I take my coat off? Because it's warm out
It's like South
there.
Carolina out there today.
Yeah.
Loosen your
It is
tie,
South
too.
Carolina
Go
heat,
ahead.
but we know better than wear suits all the time. Seriously. Where are you from?
Pennsylvania.
Well, y'all don't have heat up there.
Right now we do.
Rick doesn't know anything about heat. Well, he did travel around the country when he was running for president, but, you know, I pride myself in being a conservative, believing in just core conservative principles, and I hear the word conservative thrown around way too much up here in D.C. by Republicans who really don't understand what it means to be a conservative, who don't understand limited government, free markets, individual liberties. Those are really the core foundations. And we have to have men and women of courage here in Washington that don't mind taking on the Major League Baseball, and I'm a huge baseball fan, okay? I'm just an athlete in general, and I'm playing congressional baseball. I was on an assassin's list in 2017. I got a bracelet on right there that commemorates the date. I not only was on the assassin's list, I talked to him face to face because he asked me who was practicing. And God was looking out for me that day, Rick, because he either put blinders on him or he didn't recognize me or he just wasn't ready when I confronted him in the parking lot. But found out later he carried in his pocket, in his wallet, a list of, is it 6, Thomas? 6 members of Congress he specifically wanted to kill. And I was one of those. Had my description, he had it wrong. He said I was like 250 and all this other stuff. No, I'm kidding. But, so God is good. But you've got to be able to be willing, men and women have to be willing to challenge Major League Baseball when they're really woke, right? Hate that term. Hate that term. I woke this morning about 5 o'clock when I played baseball. And I think woke culture is really a revisionist history, embracing of things that are un-American. We see an Olympic athlete turn her back on the national anthem and the flag. We see too many people kneeling. I get the wanting to raise awareness for social justice. I get the need to try to focus on problems in the inner city, but why don't these athletes take their personality, their persona, their image, their wealth, everything else, and go into the inner cities and actually get down on a knee and tie a kid's shoe or wipe a tear from an eye and actually focus on helping those kids that need help, that many of them are fatherless, single parent households or whatever, help those inner communities versus, you know, it's all about them really. You know, Kaepernick was all about himself. He really didn't care about all of that. He wanted to draw attention to himself because he was losing his gig. I mean, that's just really how I look at it, being an athlete and watching what happened. So we got this woke culture, cancel culture stuff going on out there. We got this 1619 project, I think that's what it's called. You got Juneteenth just happened, all this awareness of our history, but a revisionist history with critical race theory, with the 1619 project or whatever. So here's what we need to do. You need to go home. You need to get engaged in your school board elections.
Just talking about that.
How many people know their school board member? I know mine because he's my neighbor and he ran and he won in November. Before that, I couldn't have told you. If we really, and if you think about it, a lot of school districts in the country have fiscal autonomy. That means they can raise millage rates to pay for, if you look at your tax bill, a big portion of that is education spending. And so we need to get involved in our school board elections. And we really need to push back against those things like critical race theory being taught in our school. And what we need to do is encourage teaching of the founding documents. We just talked about conservatism a little bit, but we need to talk about our nation and what it was founded on and who it was founded by and what those men truly believed and what they endured because they pledged their lives, their liberty, their sacred fortune. Right? They pledged their lives. I might die in this effort. I might be in prison, that's my liberty. I might lose that freedom to come and go. Or I might go broke. They may, the British government may come in and seize my land, my possessions. And they were willing to do that. Do we have, and this is rhetorical, do we have those type of people in America today that are willing to risk their lives, their liberty, and their sacred fortune? And I would probably answer that question as a no. We've get right down to it. But we also had a president who was a billionaire who came to serve this country not for personal economic benefit, because he didn't need it. In fact, he had that anonymity to some degree to go and do whatever he wanted to. If he wanted to play golf, he could have done that. If he wanted to travel and build a new hotel, he could do all that, right? To come up here and live under this glass house, so to speak, as President of the United States, where everything he did, whether his shoe was untied or, as Gresham used to get me, mine aren't polished today. And Gresham Barrett was a big Citadel guy, he's all about polish the guy before he plays. But anyway, if Trump's shoes weren't polished, the press were probably going to write about it. You know, everything was scrutinized, and I believe that guy woke up every morning thinking about Americans, thinking about how to make Americans' lives better. He talked about Make America Great Again, and that was a really broad umbrella that meant we're going to bring manufacturing back, we're going to create American jobs, we're going to less dependence on the government, we're going to empower liberty, we're going to empower those entrepreneurs and innovators and help them get out from under this government red tape, let them be successful, and when they are successful, let them keep more of their money versus paying an exorbitant amount to the government so they can reinvest that, create more jobs, and create more widgets that we need. That's what makes America great. And when America is great like that, we have the ability to project our military might, to protect our national interest and protect our allies' national interest all over. And we also have benevolence. America is a very benevolent nation when we're successful. But when Americans are giving so much money away to the government, they don't have money to give the United Way or Chamber of Commerce or the World Food Program or UNICEF or you name it. But we're a very benevolent nation. I just want to, he's giving me the note. Are we voting? Is that what you're doing?
Yes, sir.
I mentioned liberty and all that. We're getting ready to celebrate July 4th, and this administration and the woke culture in this nation do not want us to celebrate July 4th because they want to turn their back on the national anthem. They want to turn their back on the American flag. They actually want to change the American flag. I'm blown away by this, but they want to change it. They want to, one of the, she's an actor, I think, that or a Grammy winner of music, one is change the red and white on there to more of a blend or tan colors and do away with the stars and do something different because in her mind the American flag wasn't inclusive. Well, the American flag is inclusive of all Americans. You have the right in America to do anything you want to do. You have the right to be successful. In fact, you can go to public schools and you can probably go to public education. If you apply yourself and keep your grades up, you can go and achieve whatever you want. America does not have a class system. We don't hold people back. We actually try to empower them. There's all kinds of programs. So if someone, regardless of their economic status, want to be successful in this country, all they have to do is get up out of the bed every morning and apply themselves just a little, because when they do, then they can get the grades, they can go to the school, they can get the training program, technical school or four-year college, and start to improve their lives regardless of where they come from. I promise you that is the American dream, and that's what Donald Trump got.
Yeah.
And I believe that's what our founders tried to put forward. I carry a Constitution in my pocket. This one actually was signed by Ed Meese and Glenn Beck.
Wow.
Glenn Beck signed it in Clemson in 2010. Ed Meese at Reagan Library when I was up here. And because I always carry one, I just pulled it out because I want to get these great people to sign it. And I was sitting across the cabinet table in the White House with President Trump and the Freedom Caucus. We were talking about the Obamacare repeal and replacement plan that wasn't a repeal and it wasn't a replace. It was nibbling around the edges of Obamacare, and it wasn't what Republicans promised. And I pulled a Constitution out because I really wanted to give it to President Trump. Because I felt like he needed to be reminded, like I do carry in my pocket, right? So I pulled it out, and I had it, and he's sitting right across from me. He says, does this, pulls out a Sharpie. I slide the Constitution across the table. He pulls out a Sharpie, signs it, and slides it back to me. And I thought, boy, I came out ahead on that one, right? I got a Constitution signed by Donald Trump. But anyway. So we're getting ready to go on this July 4th. They don't want to do fireworks in Mount Rushmore. They don't want to have any patriotic isms at all because of all the things I talked about with the woke culture across this country and what we see from the left. But I want to leave you with this. Our founders said this: we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and they're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure those rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent to be governed. Let's break that down. All men are created equal. Our Creator gives us those unalienable rights. And then we create government, and we are the consent, so we give government its power. And the Constitution, that was in the Declaration, the Constitution goes on and sets forth those powers and enumerates 17 powers that government should have. That's limited government that our founders envisioned. We're well beyond limited government now with everything government's involved in. But it says in the Constitution, they go on to write that any power not specifically outlined in this document as a power belonging to the federal government, section in the Bill of Rights, but any power not specifically outlined in this document as a power belonging to the federal government, nor prohibited by this document as a power the states or the people can have, then that power is reserved by the states or the people. Notice I said that it's reserved by the states or the people. They use the word reserved for a reason. The government does not give you those rights. First off, they come from the Creator, and when they use the word reserve, that means you had them already. Government didn't give you the right to keep and bear arms or speak out or peacefully assemble like we're doing today and petition the government to redress your grievances or freely worship or any of that. You already had that power. And it's reserved by you, because anything government gives you, government can take away. The Democrats think that federal government gives you those powers. No, God gave you those powers. And it's affirmed in the Bill of Rights, in the Constitution of the United States. Take a moment in the next week, pull out Declaration of Independence, really read what our founders were saying. Go one step further, read other founding documents. You'll understand that our founders wanted to have a government do certain things that we needed a government at the federal level to do, but ultimately they wanted you to have the power, you as American citizens. We got a lot of problems up here. Open border, we got magnetometers, we got fencing, we got all these other things. We got HR 1, we got huge infrastructure spending, we got debt ceiling coming up, we've got other spending. We're going to deal with that. And America's going to be all right. I'm worried about our debt. That's probably the most overarching thing that I personally am worried about. But I have to go vote. They're going to continue spending money. We're going to continue fighting. We're going to take back the House in 2022. We're in the White House in 2022. Maintain the Senate or hold it with guys like Ted Budd, and we're going to start turning this thing around and get America back on track. But we as conservatives have to even hold Republicans in this Republican conference accountable for reforms to spending, so we don't have to borrow so much money, and that we start returning limited government. So thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today.
Thank you.